Welcome back. Last time in episode 10, I finished the video with a bit of wet flatting and polishing. Well, that's where this episode is going to pick back up from. So just a quick recap for those not aware of what I'm doing. When a car is spray painted, it's practically impossible not to end up with some dirt nibs and orange peel in the finish. So what I'm doing here is flatting back the clear coat with increasingly finer grades of sandpaper to leave me with a perfectly flat, blemish-free finish that when polished back up to a gloss finish will look incredibly shiny. The same as with the wet sanding, where I worked my way from 1200 grit all the way up to 3000 grit. The polishing process uses the same method of using increasingly finer polishing compounds and pad density to reach a perfect finish, although this does take many hours, hence the reason why this is just a brief overview of the process, and I worked away at it panel by panel over the Christmas holidays. With all of the sanding and polishing now done, I can give the full car a wipe down with some rapid detailer and a clean microfiber, and then stand back and admire the shine for a while. Even George approves of the finish. Well, with that massively time consuming job out of the way, let's crack on with getting the rest of the car built. Since we are in the final stages of restoration, you'll find that there's no real pattern to the work anymore. It's just basically jumping from one task to another until the restoration is complete. The first of the little jobs is freshening up these wiper arms, as they are in a terrible state. I was going to paint the arms, but I decided to go with powder coat for that little bit of extra durability. While the arms are baking, I'm going to re-zinc plate a few bits and bobs that I need to finish the build up. Plating done. Now let's get the wipers put back in place. I'm covering the ends of the wipers, as being this close to the end of the project, I don't fancy tempting fate. Now it's time for some fresh wiper blades. I did think about upgrading them to modern flat blades, but I didn't think it was in keeping with the restoration. So, as you can see, I opted for the classic style instead. Now for a quick test. As you can see from this shot, the lights are in terrible condition, but no worries, I'll soon have that sorted out. Well, I don't know about you, but I think this light has turned out fantastic. Now, I just need to sort out the other 8 light units. The lights are looking fresh again, and it's another job ticked off the list. Now, on to the next one. And that's repainting the border around the side lights. Through the years the finish has worn off and left bare plastic. Now I need to mask them up and give them a quick dusting with adhesion promoter and some matte black. While I'm waiting on the paint drying, I'll crack on with fitting the headlights. Looking as good as new. Well, that's the front lights in place and wired up, so now it's time to give them a quick test. Well, they work just fine, so now it's time to get the front bumper back in place. The front end is now back in place and looking awesome. I just need to give it a quick wipe down with some rapid detailer to remove the greasy fingerprints and dust, and then I can move on to getting the rear end back on. With the amount of rusty bodywork I had to cut out and replace on this rear end, I'm so happy to see that the bumper fits exactly how it should. My fabrication skills can't be that bad then, eh? With the lights in place, a quick test is a must, in case we have any corroded or broken wiring. Now it's time to reinstall all of the side mouldings and trims. Since this is a fairly long process, I'm going to use a bit of camera trickery to get the job done. I'm now going to install this genuine SIR spoiler that I managed to pick up for the bargain price of £50. Now comes the part I always hate, drilling into pristine bodywork. Now to repaint the drill holes to prevent rust. I've lost count of the amount of customers' cars I've had to fix over the years when I used to work in a body shop, as they drill holes for whatever reasons, but never think about the bare steel they have just left for the rust to take hold. When installing a spoiler, I always like to use a bit of gasket silicone around the holes to make 100% sure that I don't get any water leaks. Always use a gasket silicone and not an adhesive like Sikaflex or Tiger Seal, because if you need to remove the spoiler, you won't be able to without doing damage. I don't know about you guys, but I think that wing sets off the rear end nicely. Now, let's deal with the air filtration. This is the old intake system for the 1.5 engine, and it does a great job of filtering the air and keeping noise levels to a minimum. But now that I have that lovely little twin cam engine, I want to be able to hear a nice throaty induction roar, and I'm going to accomplish that with this lovely carbon air intake. I chose this style of intake as it flows well and, due to its size and shape, acts like a resonance chamber to enhance the induction roar. While the filter oil is wicking into the fibres, I'll install the air intake. Now normally to fit these intakes to a CRX, you need to relocate the battery to the boot, but I didn't fancy that, so I've modified this intake, battery tray, and rerouted some wiring and brake lines to make it fit. Also, I will be running with a slightly smaller battery. I'm just setting the battery in place for the moment, as I'm not ready to make the car live just yet. Now it's time to remove the 1.5x sticker, since, technically it's not anymore. If you have any ideas of something fun and unique I could replace this sticker with, then please leave a comment below. I would love to hear your ideas. So as you can see here, I've managed to source a set of original JDM SIR wheels at quite a considerable cost, but worth every penny to have the CRX looking as it should. As I've said before in my previous tyre fitting videos, the yellow dot indicates the lightest part of the tyre, and this should be aligned with the valve neck, as it's the heaviest part of the rim. This makes balancing out the wheel a lot easier and requires less balance weights. With the tyre on, I just need to give it a quick rinse to remove the tyre soap and, at the same time, check for any leaks. wheels on, now it's time for the final touch, the Honda badge. Well, the time has finally arrived. The CRX is fully restored and sitting back on all four wheels, ready for the road. But before I do the unveiling, let's jump back to last year and remind ourselves just how far this project has came. With that little recap of all the work that's been done out of the way, let's have a quick look at some of the before and after shots. Then we can go for a little test drive. CRX is finally revealed and is looking as good as new, and I hope you all think so too. Now, as it's getting a bit late, I'm going to get some sleep, and we can go for a drive tomorrow morning. So I really hope you've enjoyed this restoration series, and I thought it would be interesting to end this series by adding up what the restoration has cost. So, here we go. The CRX on its own cost £2,500. Now, I know most of you from other countries will say that's a ludicrous price for a complete rust bucket, but here in the UK there are literally only a handful of these cars left. The donor engine and gearbox cost me £400. The paint and body, which includes all the repair panels, welding wire, gas, consumables, and of course the paint, cost £2,109. The mechanical parts such as nuts, bolts, bushings, gaskets, tyres, engine rebuild parts, fluids, exhaust system, wheels, etc. cost £3,193. So in total, I've spent £8,579 to have a factory fresh CRX to call my own. and none of it would have been possible without the kindness and generosity shown by my awesome patrons, and I just want us all to take a moment to say thank you to all of them. As for me, well, I'm going to head straight back to the workshop to get cracking on the next restoration. See you all again next time.